Order the meeting of the regular meeting of the German Township Trustees. We rise for the Pledge of Allegiance. The Pledge of Allegiance to the state and to and under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. We have Ron Wine here, who is a representative for the Channel Maintenance Systems. Oh, I'm sorry, Mark, go ahead.
Good evening, everyone. Dr. Cross here. Mr. Stubbs here.
Mr. Potter. All present. Thank you. Sorry. And again, we have Mr. Ron Watt, who's a representative from Channel Maintenance System. I'm going to put you at the beginning of visitor comments, Mr. Wine, so that way you don't have to stick around. So basically, we'll entertain questions from the trustees and then any visitors that have questions for you. You want to come up to the podium and state your name and address?
Yeah, sure. Good evening. My name is Ron Wine. My address is 1401 Halsted Circle in Washington Township. Across the river, always over that way. And I'm here representing my company, Channel Maintenance Systems, tonight. I'm not sure how much background you all have about discussions we've been having recently with the city of Miamisburg and also the township recently. German Township.
City of Germantown.
Oh, did I say Miamisburg? I'm so sorry. I drove through Miamisburg. Yeah, with Germantown. Forgive me, Jeff, wherever you are. About erosion that's going along Twin Creek. And my company is a stream management company. I was trained a long time ago when I had red hair and was taller. When I worked at the Department of Natural Resources back in the late 70s, early 80s. I was trained in how to do natural stream management. It's a kind of a lost art in some ways. It was done a lot by the Department of Natural Resources in the 80s, some in the early 90s, and then it kind of faded out, not because it didn't work, just the department quit doing it. And the gentleman that kind of invented the techniques, the basic techniques, George Palmer, passed away in 2012. So everybody retired, he died, so I'm an expert now, I guess. Someone left. Our company does work to protect the roads, bridges, buildings, land, property, parks. Done about 75 or 80 projects in Ohio in the last 7 or 8 years. The way we work is work with the stream. We don't work against it. We use a natural technique. We primarily use trees and brush, redirect flow, cause deposition to happen where there's erosion. And that way we can realign stream channels, we can control erosion, and we can establish a long-lasting solution to problems that we all face. Rivers like to meander. They do. And once they start, they get worse. And a lot of times the meandering is started sometimes by man-made problems, but oftentimes trees fall in the river, get stuck, cause a log jam, stream tries to go around them, and so forth and so on. So the area we've been looking at is down at Pritchard Park and off of, that would be Budlick Road, Township Road. Just, I don't know what direction it is, but downstream from Astoria Road. And I've been looking at that area for quite a few years. I actually had some people call me about it, and I drive around and look at it. And I picked up the phone about a month or two ago and called the city and just said, hey, your park's washing away in the stream, and also the road across the way doesn't look too good either. So it led to a couple of meetings. Lou was in one meeting for sure, and we discussed it. I made a proposal to the city and the township to do work, our company to do work to control erosion at the park, save the parkland. And what's happening with the parkland is because it's eroding on the parkland, the stream is then even more coming over to on top of Mudlick Road. So like I said earlier, once they start to move, they just keep moving. So our goal is to, the city approved our proposal, I believe last week. And it was meant to be a cooperative effort endeavor between the city and the township. And I'm just here tonight to ask for your support for the proposal and explain that I think it's a good time to do the work, because if you don't do the work when you can do the work gets a lot more expensive down the road. It's a lot easier to kind of maintain and fix a problem when it first starts or early on in the process than waiting for catastrophes. And unfortunately, a lot of people wait till, it's expensive and you have to do some pretty major kind of efforts. But right now that project lends itself well to our techniques, the work. It'd be a lot less expensive than anything else you could do. Our methods and techniques have been studied extensively. U.S. Army Corps of Engineers has studied them. They like them. They in fact give us a little bit of a leeway with permitting because what we do fits it. It's within something they call Nationwide Permit 13. As long as we're staying inside of that permit, we don't really even need to notify them about projects unless it's on water special concern or during certain times of year. I don't know if you're all familiar with bats, but the bats are protected quite a bit as part of the country. So you're not really supposed to cut a tree between April 1 and September 30th without doing a bat study. So we hope to get at this project right away. In fact, I'd like to start it this week before it turns super cold because that area is very kind of tenuous. There's some trees that fall in the stream that could get washed downstream. It's set up to cause more problems over toward the road because of the trees that are laying kind of in the wrong places. So our goal is to try to get started as soon as we can. Normally we get some pretty good sized floods in this part of the country, as you guys know, starting usually late February, mid-late February if we get a thaw and have some snow, and on through the spring. So I'd like to get the work done early on so we can benefit from actually the floods. So it's kind of weird, but our techniques, we like floods because we anchor trees and brush to the banks in the stream bed. So when high water comes up, that stream and brush causes the high water flows to be deflected away from the stream bank, creates sort of a natural siltation process. So during floods, instead of the banks eroding, they'll actually be rebuilding. It sounds a little different, but it works. Most recently, we were studied extensively by the Ohio Department of Transportation. We did about a 6-8 week study on all of our projects in Ohio back in 2021 timeframe. And the Department of Transportation liked what we did so much that they hired us to do a big project up on the Mad River just north of Dayton off I-70. The Mad River was coming in, getting ready to go into I-70 and caused some pretty big problems. So we finished that project up earlier this year, and ODOT loves what we do. They found out that what we do is somewhere between cost 25 to 30% of what they normally spend on stream stabilization projects. I say this in a really respectful way. I'm not an engineer. I'm an MBA, which means I know a little bit about a lot of things, but I don't know a lot about rivers. But engineers tend to build things. They like to build structures. They use gabions. They build walls. They use large rock, and that's fine. It works, but it's usually pricey, and it's also not the greatest thing for the environment. So our techniques have also been studied by a number of park districts. In fact, project we did up near Akron, Ohio, local park district and Summit County Metro Parks looked at it, studied it. They actually found out when we got done, not only did we save the road eroding away into this creek, but we also did it in such a way that the environment was actually a lot measurably better. By controlling all that erosion and that runoff, we made the water quality better. The way we do the trees and the brush creates wildlife habitat. There's actually more fish in the creek. The water quality was better. And then we replanted about 150 trees when we got done to reforest an area that had no trees on it. So environmentalists like what we do. We've done a lot of work for local governments. We've done a lot of work for county engineers. We've done a lot of work for the state. We've done a lot of work for park districts. We've done a lot of work for private landowners. So we have a large amount of experience. Our techniques last. They work. Blend in pretty good with the environment, and I think you'll be happy with the work we do over time. One thing I would say kind of as a passing comment, really not a passing comment, but just kind of another comment is most communities it takes them a while to figure out how to be proactive about streams and river problems because it's just, I don't know, you just kind of sit back and wait until they're a big problem. And then, that costs a lot of money and everybody's panicking, but I mean, the idea of trying to manage a stream kind of proactively and try to deal with problems before they become major problems, I think is something that I've been trying to talk to all my contacts in local government about, my county engineers about. We're happy to come in later and do one, but it's going to cost a lot more. And then also sometimes they get so bad, you don't really have our techniques as an alternative. You get to a point, there's no trees, there's nothing to work with. Channel's so bad, it's hard to fix, but Problem down here is not hard to fix. I mean, it's a problem, but it's fixable. We've done a lot of them just like it. I'm confident we can get it done in good order and entertain any questions y'all have,
Yeah,
even the police.
that answered a lot of my question. So you don't really have to get any permits for this?
No,
You just go ahead and start,
we can, only because we're
not putting.
well, we're not gonna have equipment in the river for one thing. We're not gonna be driving a bulldozer down the river, or anything like that. We do all the work pretty much off the stream bank. And because of this nationwide permit 13, sometimes you have to apply for that. And we've had projects where we applied for it. But like waters, like we did a big project this year down the Little Miami Scenic River, National Scenic River. Because that's a National Scenic River, even though we had this exemption, we still had to go through the process of getting a permit. And y'all probably know the way the system works. So if I go to the Corps of Engineers to get a permit, nationwide permit 13, even though I'm going to get that, they have to notify everybody else that I've submitted a project for a permit. So on that one, we had to go through the Corps of Engineers, the U.S. Fish and Wildlife Service, the National Park Service, the Ohio Department of Natural Resources, the Ohio EPA, Division of Wildlife, and someone else I can't remember. But on this one, we wouldn't have to do that because it fits within the criteria that we've established with the Corps. Probably a long answer, Mark, sorry.
That's fine. So resolution 2024-04 was passed by the city of Germantown to hire you under the Twin Creek Erosion Control Project memorandum. It states, in summary, after several high water events, CMS will return to the site to inspect progress as needed over a 6-month period. Can you return to the site after a year? Is that a possibility?
Sure. Happy to do it. We normally do it anyway. The 6 months is just kind of
Just kind of a check.
we're more interested in making sure things work than we're worried about 6 months.
So in the memorandum under project budget, it states CMS will require access and assistance from the city and township. So what assistance would you need from our?
Yeah, not a lot. Just that we're going to have to, close a lane for a while we're working in particular areas along Mud Lick. I mean, we just code it off and have somebody doing traffic control out there. But what we'll probably do there, well, what we will do there is we'll probably have a skid steer with a pretty good sized winch on it. So we'll probably use the skid steer to either pull trees across the river from the Germantown side. I didn't say my words were deadly. Or once we put a tree down in the river, we'll use that to kind of position it where we want it to do along the bank. So there'll be some traffic issues, but we don't need to close the entire road to do what we need to do. Probably one lane some of the time.
Okay.
Couple days.
Let me have a letter was submitted to the trustees. Let me have Mark read that when we got a chance here.
Oh, sure.
I've got questions too when you're done.
Okay, I received this request from Abigail. Hold on, let me open my video. I received this request today from Abigail Dennis asking me to read this statement to the trustees. She is unable to attend the meeting tonight. Dear trustees, thank you. Dear trustees, I cannot make the meeting tonight to listen to the channel maintenance system presentation concerning the Twin Creek Restoration Project. I just wanted to take a minute to express my concerns over this situation. I do not think this project should be approved. I feel that this project has been rushed through rather quickly. I also do not think it is wise to redirect the creek. I've grown up with a creek in my front yard. I understand what can happen when you mess with water. I especially do not think the township should be paying for part of it. I feel that this is for the city of Germantown and/or the parks. My concern as a citizen of the township is the Mud Lake Road side. The erosion on that side is closer to the road than the erosion on the Park City side is to the Park City. Thank you for your time. Respectively, Abigail Hale Dennis.
Jake, do you want?
Yeah, I just had a couple. First of all, who owns the land that we're talking about?
Well, the city owns the park land on I guess that's the north side of the creek. I can't turn south. South?
That's the north side.
That's the north side. And then I think most of the work that we're talking about doing on the Mud Lake side is probably within your right of way.
Okay.
To it. We're just gonna be working right along the road. We're
Right.
not gonna be up in anybody's
No,
yard.
right. So I'm just gonna, I think there's a problem. I just don't, I'm not sure it's German Township's responsibility is where I'm coming from for my questions. So,
Sure.
typically when you guys do projects, who funds them? Is it a township? Is it a city? Is it the Metro Park? Is it the EPA? Is it
Not the EPA.
the Conservancy District?
Occasionally, but we haven't done a conservancy project for a long time, but it's normally whoever owns the asset that we're trying to protect. They've been funded by the state, they've been funded by townships, they've been funded by cities, by park districts, by county engineers' offices. It just depends on who has the asset trying to be protected. I totally understand, this is kind of normal for me to go through about, streams don't respect boundaries.
Right.
And, if you ever try to read Ohio's riparian laws, it'll cause you to probably go to sleep because, in terms of who owns what in a river, the rivers move,
Right.
so it depends on how deeds are written and everything else. That particular situation, sir, I understand your opinion. I mean, the park is the bigger problem to solve, right?
Right.
And solving that problem will certainly have some positive impact on the road. But the fact is that the road is already endangered because you have a lot of trees along that road that are undermined, that are starting to go like, yay.
Okay.
And once they start that, they're going to go. It doesn't take much. And you can't really understand when they're going to go, but they're going to go. And when they go, the same reason we want trees along the stream, because they have a large root structure that intertwines and holds the stream bank together. When one gets undermined like that and not properly managed, when it goes, it's going to take a room size full of property with it.
Right.
And so we get called in a lot to fix these problems along roads. The Warren County engineer, Neil Tunison, we've probably done 5 or 6 projects just like this for him, where these trees start getting undermined over time. Now we can do whatever we want on the city side, right? And we're not going to do enough on the city side to redirect anything toward the public side. I mean, we have experience with this. We know how to fix a problem without causing another one, if you know what I mean.
Right.
And some people that try to do things like that don't understand the impact of the action. Every action has a consequence. And so if we do something here, something's going to happen over there. So what we'll do on the Germantown side is fix that, but try to just continue to move the channel to the middle where it's supposed to be anyway.
Right.
So that will help. But it's not going to fix the problems on the road. You're going to have problems with the road. And the problem with the road is when those trees start to go, and those root structures start moving around, you start losing your road bed. And it becomes a very expensive project. There's some areas down there that I've seen on the road. You can already see a little cracking going on in the road. You can see where it's going to happen. And I've had that a lot happen with other projects. And like I said earlier, if you're not really proactive about it, a lot of the, I'm not saying anything negative. A lot of people doing the road work kind of look at the road. They don't really look that far off the road either way, because you kind of have your space and that's what you look at. You don't really notice you got kind of problem until you start seeing cracks in the road starting to form, which means that whole road bed's starting to slough. So that's my concern along mud. Like, even if we do fix the city, we're not going to hurt. We're certainly going to help the situation, but we're not going to be able to fix that road. It's going to go. And like I said, I've been looking at it for, 4 or 5 years. I know I've been kind of watching it, keep my eye on it. And I really didn't think about it until I got a call from a friend of mine about the park. He's a disc golfer. He said, hey, we're losing our disc golf course. And I said, well, let me come down and take a look at it. And then I realized that, oh, okay, here's the relationship,
Right.
These two problems are related.
So right now, to me, they're both got to do with both sides because it's starting to S.
It is.
And you don't fix the one side, it's going to go affect the other side.
It will.
Because
It already is.
it's already pushing it across.
But I think it's had so much effect already that there's these undermined trees that I have a concern about. They're going to go.
Yep.
And then when they do go, you just don't know what's going to happen. Usually nothing good.
This is a little bit of a 2-stage project here, is what I'm hoping for, is to fix this problem. And then, like you've been saying, to maintain the creek maintenance each year.
It would be helpful.
And I was telling you about the place at the bottom.
Yeah, I
of the-
saw it. I already went and looked at it. Yeah.
Okay. If you could explain
Oh, there's just another area there when you cross the bridge coming here on Twin Creek. If you look to the right on Creek Road there, there's a lot of really unstable area in that section. You got a big sycamore tree. It's probably ready to fall in this year. If it goes, it's probably gonna start a log jam. Creek's gonna probably start doing some crazy stuff. It's already kind of misaligned with the bridge already a little bit.
And how would you fix that? You would cut that, explain how you would fix that by cutting the tree and letting it regrow.
Yeah, like we like to cut a leaning tree, particularly sycamores, before they fall in because sycamores are really resilient. They're like tree weeds. I mean, it's hard to kill them. And so if we get one cut when it's falling down, we can save the root structure, use the tree in the top to tie in to deflect current. And usually those trees stump sprout and grow again. So you get like triple benefit. You get erosion controlled, you get a new stream bank built, and the tree grows and continues to maintain the root structure. So that's an area, I haven't studied the area, Lou, but I think there's a lot of problems around here like that where you can just see them coming. That one's, there's a house on that road, and I don't know who lives in that house, right there on Creek Road, right from the bridge. And I didn't go around looking in their backyard or look in there, but it looks like that thing is really coming after them. So I don't know who that is, but it's one of your citizens, but I don't know who it is, but that's another little problem. There's others. I mean, there's plenty of others to look at, but right now I think,
What I'm trying to do with the city and the township as a joint venture to keep this creek in its channel where it needs to be maintenance. And it's not had that in the past, just basically because we didn't know no better. Or didn't know nobody to do it.
well, I understand. I think it's a great idea. It's a way to save a lot of money long-term and keep some crises from happening. They're likely going to happen. I'm doing the same thing right now with Centerville, Washington Park District. We got hired to do a couple of projects, but now they're hiring us to do maintenance because they have so many issues along their streams and their park trails and parking lots that they need to get proactive about it. I wish everybody would. I really do. Saves money. And it's a lot easier to fix. Applaud you for doing that. I don't know, I'll vote for it, but I don't think I have a vote because I don't live in the township.
Dave, do you have any more questions?
And it's not necessarily with you, it's more of, I don't see, because Montgomery County, or Miami Conservancy District and the Metro Park, they put the kayaks in down off of Creek Road. Why are we responsible for the creek when Metro Park and Conservancy District are using it? But then we're responsible to maintain it when they're collecting tax dollars from our residents, and then not maintaining the creek. That's where I have an issue.
Yeah, no, I hear what you're saying. And I think, the Conservancy's primary role is not maintenance, it's flood control. I mean, so you're really paying the assessment for flood control, you're not paying it for anything else. As far as the park district goes, I don't know that that's district land down there. It might be, water's a public asset.
Right.
So somebody might own one bank, somebody might own the other, somebody might own halfway out in the stream bed. But the water itself is a public asset. Nobody owns the water.
So
The state basically owns the water.
so which government agency then it should be maintaining it?
There is no one.
There's no one to maintain.
No, in fact, there just is nobody does it. We did a project up in Northeast Ohio for I guess they would call it a watershed district. But they did kind of a watershed assessment of all the property owners along the stream for maintenance. So in that case, the watershed district took some proactive action. Normally, these projects are just, nobody deals with them until they're a problem. And
whoever's problem it is.
whoever's problem it is, it's your road. That's the problem. If it was the county's road, I'd be talking to the county. I've done work for the county. I've done work for county engineer. And in fact, I called them first about it and said, hey, you got a road down there by Astoria Road, Mud Lake Road that's caving in. And I talked to one of the Joe Gruner's guys, Joe Dura. Do you know Joe? Yeah. Joe said, not our problem. I said, okay, who's this? He said, it's the township.
He was probably quick to say that.
Yeah, he was really quick to say that. So, I totally understand what you're saying. And I come across this a lot. It's kind of like a who's on first thing with rivers. I mean, who's got the monkey? It depends.
Yeah.
Nobody wants it. Nobody's calling me up. Hey, can I take responsibility with you to do some projects? I don't get that call. It's usually like, okay, I got to do it. Is somebody else going to pay for it? You can get money, you can get other people's money to pay for it, but it's just not easy.
Right. So, Metro Park and whoever, they use the dam, this side of the dam to put in kayaks.
Mhm.
So is this a hazard to kayakers coming down the stream?
I don't think so. I don't think it's a hazard yet. It would be a hazard if trees start falling in there off the road and start creating log jams and problems for them. But unless it's flooding, Twin Creek's pretty navigable unless the water gets up very high. I don't see that as a hazard.
Yeah.
As much as I do a threat to your road.
Okay.
Well, I'll make a proposal after we've talked. Kurt?
Yeah.
Just name and address. You want to come up
there.
You can come up here if it doesn't mind.
Yeah, I was looking over your proposal here. Is it Ron?
Kurt.
Kurt. Kurt Jacoby, 12955 Harris Road. So how do we know what success looks like when you're done? And I know you were saying you're not an engineer, but when in engineering projects, start with specific measurable goals. And then in the end, how to measure. Okay. So you usually start with a baseline where the existing erosion is today. And you are saying that you would stop that erosion. Stop it. Would you gain soil or elsewhere?
No, there'd be soil that would be accumulated in the erosion areas.
Okay.
There's a, does anyone have little brochures left?
There's some up here.
There's a picture of one little project that I can kind of show you what. By the way, I've done projects where somebody wanted us to do an engineering plan and all that. We've done that. I don't think it's needed in this case, but there's an area down ahead of a golf course where the stream was going this way. But just like 10-foot eroded bank. They had a golf pathway right behind this tree. So we went in and laid trees in there and anchored them and did what we did. And then what happens about a year later is you have, instead of that, you have this nice 45-degree fill in of soil with materials spread out of it.
A lot more water in Twin Creek.
Yeah, I've done a lot bigger. We've worked on Little Miami River, down around Kings Island, like a side stream down there.
So,
But the project doesn't. It's a very standard project for us to do. And I think it'll be obvious when it's done.
So in terms of like measurable results, how would we begin with that? So, you could drive a post in and say, okay, this is where the soil is today.
Mhm.
On both sides of the road, or the roadside and parkside, right? And then 6 months, 12 months from that period of time, you want to say, okay, where are we? Have we had erosion?
Yeah. So a lot of times the way we measure things, which is not quite that scientific, is when we put the trees in the brush in there, you obviously see them. You see the trees in the brush lying along the stream bank. You come back after a few floods, they basically just cover up. I think you saw that in the presentation I gave the city. Yeah, we could stick a stick in there, measure it, but it's pretty obvious that you have an eroded area with nothing, trees in the brush, and you come back after a few floods, and all of a sudden you've got soil, sand, gravel filling in. You can see it. I'm sure there's a way to measure it. Costs money to do all those kinds of things. I mean, we could measure everything if you want to get a survey crew. Do a lot of measurement, but I think in this case, the situation's kind of tough. It's not going to get better. I think the solution will be pretty obvious. I think you'll be able to see it.
It's going to depend on how many floods it is on it happens.
It could, in 6 months, could happen 3 months, might take a year and a half. It just depends on the level of how many high water events we have. And in recent years, that hasn't been a problem. I suspect that, within 6 months to a year, they'd be embarrassing.
So most of the erosion is on the park side,
It's on both sides.
but most of it is on the park side.
I would say the larger area from just a measurable acreage point of view is on the park side, yeah.
And
The erosion on the road side is really more linear, and it's worse in some places than others.
so it's the most expensive side. That's where the most expensive land is. There's that park, kind of junk land there, honestly. It's woods that's there. It gets soaked, the water roars through there, when it gets really high, it gets, so it's not usable for anything really.
Disc golf.
Exactly.
Yeah, I'm not just going.
That's about it. So protecting the road is our township's most important goal.
I understand.
I mean, if we throw all the money on that side and forget the park, I'd be just fine with that. And eventually it's gonna happen.
The roadside without fixing.
That's the theory.
No,
Only a theory.
that's not a theory.
But just from my experience, it's not a theory. I mean, when you start to see the meandering again, it's going to get worse.
So we've got half a mile at least of creek running right along that road. We're gonna have problems like this going on quite a bit. I'd be fine with that water just continuing to go on into that park farther. Yeah.
I don't think the city would be, but
Well,
I also-
that's not our problem.
I also think the more that erodes, the more it's going to create this effect of the current bouncing off the park over to Mud Lake Road. Already doing it, it'd be worse. The more it goes, the worse it's going to get. I promise you that.
The larger that O goes into that park, the more it's gonna slow the creek down.
It doesn't slow it down. It actually just causes the velocity of the stream to go to the outside bend more. So it's kind of like centrifugal force, if you can think of that with water. So once you get the water on the outside of a bend, it actually is going to speed it up. And that's why it tends to meander the other side and cause problems. I've seen it a lot.
So I guess I would like to see metrics. I would like to say, okay, we go down there and we say, where are we today? You're a dentist. When you got a new patient, say you'd set metrics, okay, you got.
We've already went down there and measured it and wrote the numbers on the trees of the edge of the.
Okay.
We already did that.
Okay, so we've got baselines. Okay,
But next year it's going to cost a lot more than it is this year. It's not going to go away, like he's saying.
so what's the warranty that you have?
Usually the work we do happens fairly quickly, and then we'll stay with the project for at least a year.
I mean, warranting your work.
Depends on depends on the situation. I wouldn't be afraid to warranty work. It needs to be warranted within reason. We've warranted projects for 6 months, a year, 2 years.
Could you get that written into the contract if you decide to do something?
The 1 year level is what I was worried about.
And usually that's enough, because usually after a year, it's set in there.
You've seen the whole season, 4 seasons.
Whatever happens, happens.
I say, I will make a proposal that may address I think yours is probably considered more of a money problem. Should the township be paying for?
Oh, absolutely.
Okay, well, I say that's I'll make a proposal, so.
Yeah. I'd even recommend, your consideration of a holdback of, maybe 10%. That's what they do in our industry. That's what they do to us. You got to guarantee your work, and then 6 months from now, 12 months from now, you get that extra 10%.
Well, it's not how the city has approached it, so I don't think.
I understand, but
So. You have any other questions, Kurt?
no, that's my question.
Anybody else?
Has Jeremy said anything about this Everly Avenue? I'm sorry, I can't stand up. 50 South Main Street, Germantown. Have you talked to Jeremy about the erosion problem?
Yeah, Jeremy is aware. He went.
I've seen it down through there. I've seen it coming from the road, but there are trees falling on the park side, laying in, shooting the water right over. I can see it when I go by there all the time. I think he's right, what he says, it has to be addressed. I live by the creek down there. I moved Shawnee Creek myself with trees because it eroded into my side, eroding my bank down. So I know how to move it, water just as like what he's talking about. You put brush down, drop a tree down, you shoot it back over the other way so it doesn't erode your bank, because the purpose on that person on the other side dumped concrete in, just shot it back over my way and rode my bank. So I know exactly what he was talking about. You use natural materials to move the flow of the creek. It's just that simple.
Good.
Yeah, that's it. But what he said is right. Now, whether you want to pay for it, that's up.
So,
So can I have one more question?
Yeah.
Sorry. On your website, so basically I'm asking, the cost is 60,000 approximately. Is that correct?
I believe so. They'll have a proposal in front of them.
Both sides of the road.
And that's for you to come back in 6 months after a flood, and that's all covered in the $60,000.
Yeah, we'll keep our eye on it. It will just be like, we won't talk to you for 6 months. We have floods. Believe me, I'll be the first one out there taking a look at it.
Okay.
Yeah, we will keep an eye on it and continue to watch it. And like we talked about, I have no problem with the year mark. If you guys want us to watch it for a year, that's fine, because most of the stuff's gonna happen probably this winter and spring.
So on your site, I was on there and I'm not sure which link I clicked on, but it was like a 73-page document. In the last paragraph, the last page, it said, for planning purposes, it's anticipated that site inspection of the palmeter installation be planned on an annual basis for at least 3 to 5 years to follow the initial installation, with inspection to take place following annual spring flooding, high water. 1-day work session may be needed to carry out follow-up maintenance. Is that covered in this cost as well, or is that an additional cost down the road?
I think it's probably ODOT commissioned the Ohio University College of Civil Engineering to do the study. It was kind of their recommending to the state, if you really want to do a big project, like the Mad River project up there, it's like 100 times bigger than those. And so, yeah, well, they put a 3-year maintenance. I mean, they paid for 3 years of maintenance. So they paid like we'd be doing the project with, and they paid another amount every year for maintenance. Because it's a very large project. I don't think we'll have that issue here based on my experience.
Okay. At the end of the day, my issue is with the township paying for it, not, what you're saying, I understand. I
Sure.
buy into, I think you're right.
I understand what you're saying. Nobody, believe me, nobody wants to pay for it. Trust me.
Right. So that's the issue I have, is that German Township, that us here are responsible when there's other entities, not even Germantown. I'm not sure Germantown should be responsible for this. I think that the people that utilize this land, which would be Metro Park, who pushes the kayaking here on our creek, I think those people, I'm talking to the board, I guess, more than you at this point, but I think that there's more places to search for funding. Just so I've reached out to Metro Park. They said they're out of money. I emailed the EPA. They gave me some grants we can apply for. I've emailed and called the Conservancy District, but I've not received an email or phone call back from them at this point in time. Actually, Mr. Heaston will cover it later, but I had received an email from State Representative Tom Young's office. We actually, Mark sent this project into the state budget, but we don't find out until May or June if that comes back or not. So my thing right now is, I think we need to search other places for funding. I don't think it should come out of our general fund right now, is where I'm at. So I'll turn it back over to Mark.
Okay, let me go ahead. This is my proposal. Concerning the Twin Creek Restoration Project, I would like to propose the township pay up to $30,000 from the Parks Holdback Fund to cover the township's portion. I further propose the channel maintenance system check the project at 1 year. If the erosion is being controlled and the build back of the eroded bank is showing success, the township will reimburse the Parks Holdback Fund $7,500, the cost to restore the erosion on the south side of Twin Creek adjacent to Mud Duck Road. I consider the erosion on the north side of the Twin Creek to be a parks problem, not a township problem. This solution will preserve township funds and use the park's holdback fund for its intended use for urgent problems. So basically what I'm saying, as far as the township, our biggest concern is Mud Lake Road. That's township property, that's a township road. The other side, as far as the Frisbee golf, not really our concern, but you have to do it all at once. And I'm totally in agreement with your project and your rationale behind it and the science behind it. But this way, we had talked about using the park's holdback fund. I think it's a perfect situation. We pay the 30,000, from the parks fund. And if things work out well, which I'm assuming they will, then we pay for the Mud Lake portion of it, $7,500 portion of it. So the township is basically just paying to restore that shoreline next to Mud Lake Road. I mean, is that something do you understand what?
I understand what you're saying. I'm going to go a step further, though. I think that if we're going to go ahead and do this, the township general fund, we could cover the 7,500 now. Out of,
Yeah, if you want to do it that way, yeah.
because it is the benefit. Whether it works or it doesn't.
Reimburse and get back, right, yeah.
Right.
So, yeah.
That's, but then I think that brings up a question of the city's not going to like us using the holdback money and that coming out of.
I think that is our point to use that. We control it. I like it, but.
I read an email. I sent you guys an email earlier in the week. I sent you an email earlier in the week that Mark suggested that need to be read in public. So I want to read this email. I was just wanted to give a thoughts on the proposal of what I feel the way I do. Judy sent an email out to the resolution that passed last night's meeting. I attended the meeting and did not, and she did not say, I attended the meeting. What she did not say was that Tom G., Parks Board President, got up and spoke, wanting to let the council know that if they are repairing the erosion problem to save the disc golf area and want to use park funds money, it is not necessary. He has no problem with moving the disc golf course further downstream away from the erosion problem. He did not want park fund money to be used for the project, which I agree. I'm on the Parks Oversight Committee. Which I agree, if $50,000 or $60,000 of the emergency park fund money was to be used, it would take 5 to 6 years to replenish the money back at saving the 10% a year.
Mhm.
If we pay for it, half of it, $30,000 out of the general funds with the interest rate on how they are, we will replenish the account in 3 to 4 months. So that makes more sense for me to do that. I spoke in front of the council. The Twin Creek needs to have its own funding and propose my thoughts of $10,000 from the township and 10 in the city for creek maintenance, which they seem to be very receptive to. I know that tonight is just a reorganization meeting and can't vote, but would like to know your thoughts because time restriction of getting this to being able to get this work complete yet this winter.
And
So
you had sent this prior to last Wednesday's meeting.
I'd sent this I sent it last Wednesday morning. So, to defund the park fund money, it'll take 6 years to finish it. If you pay for the project, and just paying for the one side does not help the other. You have to fix it both.
Well, I agree.
Well,
We can, that park holdback money is ours to determine how to spend it, correct, Mark?
I'm not going to give a legal opinion on that because I'm not an attorney. But you control the money because it is in your accounts.
What about the oversight committee for the park?
The oversight committee can make recommendations. They don't have any, they don't have, they make recommendations to either the city council or mostly it's the city council or us. They don't have any power to take a vote.
Okay.
Can I ask a question? If we wait 1 month, what's the harm in waiting 1 month? If we can find a funding source in the next 30 days.
It'll probably have to be done next year then.
Yeah, I don't think putting it off any longer is.
The 30
I'm not a
day,
meteorologist, but, you know, I think you're getting into the riskiest time of the year, February. The chance of having big floods is usually pretty high that time, and I'm not sure what a big flood would do at this point, because you got a lot of places along mud that are pretty precarious. Might get lucky, but might not.
I have a question. Deb Cross, 7444 South Stuyvesant. If I remember correctly, the first quote didn't include Mudlick, right?
That's correct.
Right?
Mhm.
So if we were gonna just do Mudlick, that was gonna protect the city, right? Was it just to protect the city? Can't we just do Mudlick? Then if our concern is Mudlick?
I don't think I'm the one to answer that, but I think the projects are interrelated. That's why the Mudlick was added to the city's project, because once we got down there looking at it, site visit, it was pretty easy to see the, you know,
Yeah, I don't think by cutting them off or doing one or the other is a good idea. I think you,
I'm just confused.
It's
because
not that question. I can see.
The first way was just the city side.
What my intention was, instead of asking so much at the beginning and it get turned down, was just working on the park side this year. Because, and then with the maintenance money, in the first year of 2025, of fixing the Mudlick side. That way we'd only have to pay $52,000 this year, $25,000. Because it's going to help, going to slow the Mudlick side down by fixing the park side. And hopefully I would postpone it enough that we could then fix the Mudlick side next year with the maintenance money. Now, it was going to cost more money because he's already here. And he could do it cheaper this year if we did them both together. And again, it can be paid for in 3 to 4 months.
Yes, but the Parks Fund doesn't get interest, correct?
But this is out of the general fund.
Parks Fund doesn't get to gain interest, the holdbacks.
No, and not at this point. That's something we're going to discuss
So
later.
that would be good money to use because we don't gain interest on that anyway.
You're going to take 6 years to get the money back. That's not a good way to look at it. When you could get the money back in 3 or 4 months. It'll take 6 years to get at $10,000 a year is what we hold back and put in the emergency fund. If we take $60,000 of it.
well, there was no question of taking 60,000. If we pay for if the township pays 7,500 out of the general fund, you're looking at 22,500 on the holdback fund, which will eventually build back up. But again, like I said, that's what the holdback fund is for emergencies.
This is not a park problem.
Well, it's a creek problem. But somebody's got to take.
Park board has already said, don't worry about that. We'll move the disc golf. If you're fixing it to save the disc golf, don't worry about it. We'll move it. Let it happen. They're not worried about it. Park board and the oversight committee is not at all worried about what's going on down at the park. Let it
Well,
happen.
the project has to be done all at once. So, and if you don't do all the project all at once, you're going to be.
That is correct.
So basically, we're talking about where the funding is coming from.
That is correct.
So, I mean, if we make the proposal, make the resolution.
Cities
we will-
paying for their part out of their general fund.
That is, the city can do whatever they want. It has no
No,
difference
they're
to us. Yeah, so.
All right, you do what you guys want to do.
So, any other comments? So let me, we'll change this a little bit. I'd like to introduce resolution 2024-11, resolution to fund one half of the Twin Creek Erosion Control Project with channel maintenance system, first City of Germantown Resolution 2404, up to 22,500 from the Parks Holdback Fund. 7,500 will come from the general fund of German Township. Furthermore, no, I don't have to put that one. So basically, we're saying we'll pay for the Mud Lake Road restoration. The rest of the 30,000 will come back from the Parks Holdback Fund.
I'll second. But we need to have a discussion before we.
Yeah, go ahead.
We could have a discussion.
You're welcome to discuss it as long as you'd like. When you're done discussing, let me know and I'll call the roll then.
Okay. At this point, and I second this, we can have the discussion. We had to, that's the proper
Right,
procedure.
exactly.
Which has been lost in the past, but I have a hard time using township funds to pay for this right now. I've tried, I reached out to the Conservancy District last week. I got an email back saying they get back with me within 24 hours. They did not do that. And then Thursday, Friday, Monday, I finally got somebody to get me through to a voicemail. I left a voicemail. I've still not gotten anything back from them. So I don't feel like I'm prepared to vote on this tonight, knowing that we can find funding someplace else. I'm willing to risk a month and hope that the weather cooperates and we can start this project in 30 days.
You might not be able to.
Well, that's what I'm saying. If everything works out, and if not, we look into it for next year. I don't think it's prudent for us to spend general fund money on a project when we haven't looked at all of the other options of funding. This could be a joint project between German Township, Conservancy District, and the Metro Park. And then that makes it a whole lot less for everyone. When everybody's getting the benefit from what's happening here. So,
You've dealt with the parks and you think that's possible?
Not in a month. I mean, everything's possible.
I think it's going to be difficult. I don't think we're going to get funding from anybody else.
I don't think so.
I think that
There are some, I'm sorry, there are sources of funding available, but they usually have a pretty long timeline. Like you try to get in the state capital budget, it takes, they'll pass that sometime in June, maybe. And then by the time they get through all the rigmarole, you won't see any money until at the very earliest this fall, maybe a year later.
I think that's, $7,500 is well worth the investment to save money. But but again, and it may be that if you can find alternate funding, maybe they will reimburse us for costs.
well, now it's going to be my next question, Mr. Easton. Do you know if we go through with it and some chance it does get approved in the state budget, can that be retroactive? We've already done the project.
I do not know the answer to that question. That would be a question for Representative Young's office.
Okay.
I don't even know whether he submitted our project. We know that we submitted it to him. And that's the only thing I heard was from his legislative assistant, Mr. Wolf, I think his name is, that he received it.
Right.
So don't know anything more than that.
I have another question. There might be somebody in the room that can maybe answer it. Could we take donations towards this project from the disc golf event people? Or
They're just going to move the golf. They don't care if you fix it or not.
I said the people that utilize it,
They don't care if you fix it or not.
the disc golf people don't? Or the kayaking company?
I think again, we're under a time limit here.
Very much so.
We can think about, we can try to get funding from this and this and this, but it's going to be well after the time when we can get this project done. Again, and I'm trying to persuade you, Jane. The 70, we're not looking at a huge amount, 7,500 versus.
Well, and I'm fine with the 7,500. The park money, what's going to happen is if we pass this, the city's going to throw a fit
Absolutely.
because we didn't take it out of our general fund.
And they need to.
They are taking it out of their general fund.
Yes, sir.
We should note that publicly.
Yes.
Their 30,000 does come out of their general fund.
And they have already approved of $10,000 a year maintenance for the creek, wherever it might need to be fixed.
So then my next question is, since this is a non-budgeted item, although I hate to do it, is this something that could come out of the ARPA fund?
Yes,
So we could pay it with general fund and have them reimbursed from the ARPA fund, like we've done on several projects.
we can pay it from the ARPA fund, but I don't have a resolution tonight. So what we would do is approve it using some other source of township money. and then next month rescind that, reapprove it using ARPA money. If
Yeah,
that's the direction you want to go.
All right,
I
one more,
agree with it.
one more question. You said there's other places upstream that are in need of attention. Where does it stop? Well, that's my point. I mean, our funding
That's
stops.
what the $10,000 a year is for.
But you see what I'm saying? Like,
It'll never stop.
I get that because it's
Mother Nature does not.
Always
it's not
wins.
Easily tamed.
how Mother Nature always wins.
But I think what we're not really talking about is the utopia where we have to really talk about fixing an immediate problem and then setting aside potentially a little money to address other issues early on before they become big problems. So
Yes, we can see how this works and discuss that at a later time.
Yeah, I think the $10,000 is
Yes.
a moot point at this time.
Exactly, it is. I mean, it's just what. we're
Yeah, but
working
my point is if we're throwing this money into it here, we already know there's another project that we have to do or should do.
That's,
That's
what this joint venture is for, each city and the township,
Pot's only so big and there's so,
1 month a year.
okay, so are we willing to use the ARPA money?
Yeah,
Yeah, I think.
I'm willing to use the ARPA money.
You could pay any or all of the 60,000 using the ARPA money, and we don't have that much left.
Right, yeah.
To be specific, you have
49,000.
And just to be clear, I would much rather spend that remaining balance of the ARPA money on like a roadway that needs paved someplace.
I would too, but we might have to spend it on mud lick if we don't fix this.
you have just
What's your opinion on the erosion on that side of the?
I think anything we can do to keep the creek from meandering so hard and jettisoning up against Mudlick Road is a benefit.
Here's a picture I took just a couple days ago.
Yeah, I've seen.
Yeah, so this, you can see that. I caught the school bus. It's more dramatic.
Yeah.
More dramatic. Kind of look, there it is.
Now, I mean, I've driven by there, I've kayaked through there,
Yeah, you know.
I know, it's a problem. I just have the hardest time justifying that we're gonna spend tax dollars
Well, that's, that's.
on a
we're-
creek.
Yeah, we're spending it to avoid loss of a road. And if you're.
Potentially.
Well,
Potential.
potentially.
Well, just so you know, many years ago, when I was talking to the Army Corps of Engineers about some issues we were having on Mudlick Road. And he was saying that, there's this big, long, drawn out 5-year permitting process on doing hardscape erosion control. And I said to him, and I don't remember what his name was, I said, well, what do we do when Mudlick Road falls into Twin Creek? And he says, you put a cul-de-sac right here, put a cul-de-sac right here.
That's.
And that was his answer, and he was 100% serious.
Yes, they're not going to help.
The Army Corps of Engineers is not gonna put any money towards that,
So.
in my opinion.
And we can, if you put it as a maintenance or as insurance, however you want to look at it, it will keep this from happening in the future. Insurance is thrown away unless you use it. But you gotta have it, so. This needs to be done. I'm all for using the ARPA money. I'm sure Germantown would use it if they had any left, but they've already spent their money. So I am 100% with the ARPA money.
What was the balance on the ARPA?
between 46 and 47,000.
And we're gonna use,
So we'll still have a little left, not a whole.
I'm begrudgingly willing to go along with the ARPA money portion, part of this.
That's all we're asking.
Uh,
Yeah. Doesn't come up there. Yeah, if you can, name and address.
Mark Jones, 12255 Harris Road, Germantown. Didn't come here for this, but I'm just curious since you're talking about, what about all the aggregate in the middle? I've worked on many jobs where we've took gravel out, gravel pits by it. And I mean,
Not to touch him. He ain't even allowed to get a piece of equipment in.
what about we go down Middletown? $28 permit, we dig down to the water level, do it every year, Lou. Yeah, I'm just saying, why couldn't they do the same thing there?
Why they can't, but they will not allow that here. Jeremy might know more about that. I think they,
We got in a lot of trouble.
Yeah, well, I'm just saying, you go down Middletown
They have, for some reason,
on Carmody.
I think Whitles owned the permit
Yeah,
for forever. Now, don't quote me on any of this, because I'm just going off what my memory. And then when, I think it was Marine Materials bought that, they actually had to work under Whitles.
Yeah.
Because Whitles had the permit to dredge for aggregate out of.
we had a permit down there on Carmody over the levee.
Right.
$28 for a year. But we couldn't go below water level, had to leave it there. We couldn't side stack no gravel on the side of the thing. We had to haul it out. We was hauling it out back down by Lane Illusion, Jim Blevins' plant, stocking it in there every day.
And then, and you know how it is. Times have changed now.
Oh, yeah.
There's the mussels that are endangered. There's the bats. You can't have any kind of mechanized equipment in the creek because it leaks oil.
Yeah.
Blah, blah, blah. So I won't get in it.
I'm just saying though, in general, it don't make sense not to take an aggregate out,
Yeah.
open the center up, then you ain't got the sidewalls washing out.
Well, and that's a temporary fix because where
Oh,
we
yeah.
had, where we had this problem, or where we currently have this problem is almost equipment in the creek and
Yeah.
got it a bunch.
Well, once you start taking that gravel out, it's going, it moves all the time. It builds back up. You just can't do it a one-time thing.
Right.
It'd be like him preventive maintenance. That's your biggest thing.
So do we need to rescind that first resolution?
You can,
Modify.
you can modify it or vote as it is. Or you can withdraw it and start over again.
Yeah, I'd like to withdraw resolution 2024 dash, was it 11?
Yes, it was. Oh, gosh, I don't even know if it needs a vote, withdrawal.
I don't,
Mr. Stubbs, will you
I
agree to the
agree.
withdrawal?
I withdraw my second.
So I think that's all it takes.
I'd like to introduce resolution 2024 12. Resolution to fund one half of the Twin Creek Erosion Control Project with channel maintenance system per City of Germantown Resolution 24 04, up to 30,000 from the ARPA funds from. General.
I can't do ARPA.
I'm sorry, yeah.
We've got to go through the official.
From the general fund of Germantown.
You can use that.
second,
30,000 from the general fund.
Correct. Yeah.
second.
Let me catch up with my notes here. Okay, any discussion of resolution 2024 12?
Am I allowed to speak
Of course, you're.
as a department head?
Of course.
I personally disagree with using the ARPA money. Because there's things that could benefit Jeremy's department, my department. That could benefit from the ARPA money.
This is benefiting Jeremy's department,
Okay,
saving the
that's-
road.
That's fine. That's just my thoughts.
I understand.
Any other discussion? Hearing none, I will call the roll. Dr. Cross?
Yes.
Mr. Stubbs?
Begrudgingly, yes.
I don't do begrudgingly in the minutes. It's either yes or no.
Yes.
Mr. Potter?
Yes.
Resolution 2024-12 is adopted, and I presume with that, you want me to prepare an ARPA resolution for
Yeah.
February.
Disgusting.
Okay.
I want to thank all of you for, because it's compromise,
Yes.
I am sold. I think that Jeremy is too on this project will be successful.
And I don't have any
I understand.
disagreement with what you're doing. It was 100% funding. It has nothing to do with you, your company, or how you're gonna. I just want to make sure we're good and I maybe by some chance the state will fund this and we get reimbursed and both us and the city, and that would be fantastic.
We can still keep trying to get money for maintenance on the creek, but it's going to continue to need maintenance.
All right, we can discuss that later. Okey dokey. We'll go on to any other visitor comments.
And you're more than welcome to stay or go. We appreciate you being.
Do we appreciate, yeah, your.
It's my bet.
Thank you, Ron.
We're gonna be here for a while.
Thank you for the opportunity to work with you guys. We will do a good job, I promise.
Thanks, Ron. Thank you.
Okay, seeing no other visitor comments, we'll move on to the fiscal officer's report.
All right. Well, good evening, everyone, again. It's already been a long night and we've got a lot yet to
Are you gonna
do.
do the old business and new business
Yeah,
at the end?
Did you have something you wanted to?
I wanted to ask about the township taking over the electrical part. of the-
Visitor comments, you should do that now, so you don't.
Yeah, we'll go back.
Yeah.
Beverly Avenue. I want to know how to opt out of that because we are already under contract with somebody else to supply ours. I emailed Mr. Potter, but he didn't get back with me about it.
You're already opted. If you're with somebody other than AES, you're
You're
automatic.
already got it. I didn't know.
Yeah.
Okay, we don't have to sign anything or anything like
Yeah,
that.
you just, once a provider is selected, for the price, then they will send out a postcard to opt out. So you may want to double check with them. But if you're on, like Butler rule.
Well, even if you AES, but under a different,
If you set up your own supplier,
and we had a 3-year contract with them.
Right, yeah.
you're good. You don't have to do
You
anything.
don't have to do.
From what they
He
told us,
You're already opted out.
you're already automatically opted out. You would have to opt in because you were with a third-party supplier on.
If I wanted to come back in, I would have to.
You have to terminate that 3-year contract, and there may be a fee with that, so at the end of the 3 years, yeah.
Okay.
You couldn't opt out now even if you wanted to, because they don't have it. Set up, yeah.
I just want to know the procedure.
Yes.
Do that.
But if you should get a letter about opting out, you might want to talk to us again.
Give them a call.
You should not be getting a letter telling you that you're going to be signed up with a new provider. The only letter that you might get would say that if you wish to sign up, then you could opt in. So if you get a different kind of letter, let us know.
All right, thank you.
You can always call me too.
Okay.
Careful.
But we're looking at March before that even goes, before they even get us a
March or
bid,
April.
March or April.
I wanted to come out here ahead of time, so I
Yeah.
didn't get a surprise. All
Always glad to see you at our meeting.
right, thank you, gentlemen.
Thank you for coming.
Any other?
Any other visitors?
It's open.
Right now it is, yeah.
That's what it is.
I wasn't clear on that, so. Tim Smallwood, 11895 Harris Road. The only reason I'm here is to make this real brief. You guys probably got some letters from people who live on Harris Road about, it would have just been here in the last few days, about the, down there where Dill's excavating is and what's going on down there. But there's a lot of us on that road is kind of concerned about how big that's going to get because of the parties and things that go on there. I'm a little confused how they were able to get that in there to begin with zoning.
You're gonna have to start from the beginning, because.
Well, basically, the owner told us that she was not going to charge for anything. It was just like her birthday parties and things. So it's been a while. So to move forward, campgrounds, as far as the zoning resolution, campgrounds are allowed in the ag district, which is what that is.
Okay.
However, it's a conditional use. So if he would make a application for conditional use, that will go before the Board of Zoning Appeals. So at that time, and I wrote one of your neighbors the same thing.
Okay.
At that time, you show up and you talk to the Board of Zoning Appeals about this is, not what we want or whatever.
I kind of figured that fell under the zoning law, so.
It is, it's under zoning law. So, yeah, so that.
And I don't have a problem with the excavating business. I was used to being excavating myself, so I'm used to trucks going up and down the road. But the more they use it, the worse the road gets, because they're talking heavy trucks, trailers, equipment and all that. since that's went in down there, it's almost spring until fall, and not so much right now, is the traffic's getting more and more. The trash is getting worse. And the sound that comes from there, I've had to call the township police because, you know, when the prevailing wind takes that sound and it brings it, I'm on the east end of the road. So there are sometimes that it sounds like they're right in my front yard. And the day that I did call, it had been going on all day and got into the evening. And that's a real big concern for it to get any bigger than it is. I don't know what their plans are because, you know, they got it for sale for 45 acres or whatever it is. So my concern is the traffic, that road is not designed, as Jeremy can tell you, it's not designed to handle a lot of cars. I mean, I've been out there for 25 years now. And it used to be the only people who use that road is people who lived on it. Well, you know, there've been times where they've had to detour cars through there when they're doing work over on Oxford Road, which is fine. But, you know, you go down that road and you can see where people's had to get almost literally get in the ditch to get by some of these big trucks. I mean, there's tracks right in the middle of the ditch. And like I said, it's just the trash and the noise and all that. It's just, and there's some of the employees, I guess, down there that works for Dill. They fly up through there, and one in particular. And I've seen one of your officers out there, you know, doing some traffic control not too long ago. But yeah, it's
Do you have a time
time for
about approximately when the cars are flying up and down the road?
morning and evening, you know, 7 o'clock. And then, you know, it varies in the evening because they're, you know, you don't have a cutoff time when you go home. But, you know, 7 to 8. Right now it's not bad because, you know, probably work's just not all that prevalent. So, but come spring, I'm sure it'll pick back up.
Is that being with
Yeah.
you should. I don't.
Yeah.
Being on it.
That's, yeah. I mean, it's bumpy.
But basically,
I've been out for 25 years. That road in 25 years has never been paved. It's had, you know, the gravel and the tar put on it. And they only did half of it last year. So,
it's really a funding issue.
I know, I realize that. That's 25 years. You think I mean, they paved Wetzel Road. There's only like 3 or 4 people that live on that road.
Again, as far as the campground, there has been no application yet. Once there is an application, it will have to go before the BZA. And all the landowners within 300 feet of that property will be notified of the hearing. So that's.
See, I don't live within 300 feet of it, but I can hear it though.
You know, I'm sure that this hearing is going to go on. So
Yeah, there's a lot of us concerned about that. You know, got grandkids out there. And, yeah. There's a lot of, like, there was somebody wrote a letter and put it in everybody's mailbox down through there. I said, well, I'll just go to the township meeting to see if they're even having it on the agenda. So, but you're aware of it now, so.
We have been aware of it.
Yeah, okay. I kind of figured that.
It's totally a zoning issue. It's not a trustee issue. So anyway, I appreciate you coming in and voicing your opinion.
It's just, the road's just not made for it. Any more traffic than what's on there now, and it's deteriorating. It's gotten worse and worse every year. And I understand you guys are constrained by budget. Something's got to happen one of these days. So, thank you very much.
Thank you.
That's all. If somebody else wants to comment on that.
You have something, Mark?
He pretty much touched what I was going to talk about.
Two for one, there you go.
Bad, I don't know, Shane knows about it. I think the Rolling Duties, they do a good job for the township, I think. But they are cars. I lived there, my mom and dad lived in Hereford. They're both passed away. I moved there 2 years ago. Yeah, I have dump trucks that ran in and out of there all the time. Jones Trucking. We've always been eating. I never was on that road loaded, but yeah, my truck weighs 28,000 pounds empty. I never came in there loaded. Either way, empty or like we go to work down there at gravel pits, we come home. But my concern is there's so much traffic on Harris Road I've never seen in my life with the cars. There was some little young kid coming down early one morning, east of me, coming down through there, little black car flying. I said, there, one off the ditch he went right into Keister or on Fry's Field. I laughed. I thought it was funny or crap. I was like, he looked at me, off the field he went, and I pulled out and left, waved at him, and kept going. And I thought, there's no reason for the speeds they drive on that road.
It's like every
And
week.
it's just not township. There's a lot of the township roads.
The problem is, they're not speeding.
Yeah.
If it's 55, it's his problem.
Up on 55. You see the base get airborne, off the ground. I know it's 55. But the thing is, there's so many people on that road nowadays. Traffic just everywhere.
I think that's all of German Township, people want to live out here, you gotta get, they have to get to their houses, so that's just just the way
The
that.
traffic it's just more than ever used to be.
It's probably gonna increase.
You know, so that's just the thing.
Say is I agree with the chief about the rescue plan money to be spent right there and on our roads. So, and that guy over there. So,
Appreciate your.
Well, just so you guys know, as far as the speed limit, the Board of Trustees has no authority to change the speed.
No,
limit. That's all done at the state level. We've had people come to the fourth board and say, hey, we think 55 or 45 is too fast. Can we have it reduced? And you have to go to the state. Well, when the state of Ohio comes out and they have the county engineer do a speed study, they submit that information to the state, and the state comes back and says, more times than not, that we've been involved in, well, actually, that is usually good for 60. So it goes the opposite direction. We had somebody on Mud Lick Road, it's 45 miles an hour. State did a speed study, came back at 55. Said, you sure you want to pursue this? Because it's going to go from 45 to 55 instead of 45 to 35. So, but yeah, it's not as easy as coming before the board and saying, hey, we'd like to have a speed limit.
You fix here, start making it nicer, they'll just go faster.
Okay, well, let's kind of wrap this up. We have a lot of business to go into. Appreciate you.
thank you.
Thank you, guys.
So, Mr. Hasted, would you like to try your fiscal officer's report again?
We could eliminate it for tonight if you like.
Have a special meeting.
There we go.
Start over.
Okay, well, good evening again, everyone. All right. Let's start out, as always, with our minutes. You have minutes from the December 29th year-end special meeting and the January 3rd organizational meeting. Are there any corrections?
I didn't find any.
If not, could I have a motion to accept both sets of minutes?
I'd like to make a motion to approve the minutes from the 12/29/23 year-end special meeting and the 1/3/24 organizational meeting. And it's submitted.
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Thank you. I've also given you what I now call the final December financial reports. They're the same ones you look at every month. You have the fund status at the end of December, cash summary by fund, year to date through the end of December, the month of December, cash summary by fund, the December receipts, and the December payments. And the changes from the reports that you saw at the year-end special meeting, these reports now include the December interest from First National Bank, a whole $2.11, and from Star Ohio, $9,045.07. And First National is paying at 0.05%. Star Ohio is paying at 5.58%. I have several small vouchers, 10/20/39 through 10/41. Those were automatic medical charges that get posted by the bank during that last week of December, after I had prepared the reports earlier in December. And finally, voucher 10/42 is for $3,469.74. It is an automatic charge by First National Bank. I will discuss that in a few minutes, but that hit our account on December 27th. If you have no questions, I'd like you to please approve the final reports and the final payment of the December bills.
I'd like to make a motion to approve the final December financial reports and reauthorize the payment of December bills, warrants 50720 through 50725, and vouchers 953 through 1042 for payment, payroll, direct deposits, tax withholdings, and other electronic payments.
Do I have a second?
I'll second it, but can you explain the voucher, the First National Bank charge?
That's coming up on that.
I will, my very next thing.
Okay.
We'll see.
I just, we're approving it before we. That's okay.
I wish I didn't even have to record it,
Okay.
but unfortunately, and I'm good. Well, let me go ahead and talk about it now. Part of your discussion of your motion. So that $3,469 charge hit our account on December 27th. I had no idea what it was when I saw the bank statement. So I called the bank on January 2nd, and I was told, after some research on their part, that the charge was a credit card payment for a card not connected to the township. The bank eventually reversed that charge on January 3rd. But since the funds were missing from our account over month end, year end in this case, I still had to record the transaction in order to reconcile the bank statement and record it as a December payment. And then I will then reverse that out.
Really? Even though it's an accident?
In January.
Okay, even though it's an accidental, not our fault, it still has to go. Okay, all right. I saw what you had as the next thing. I wasn't sure how we had to make a resolution, to fix it when it wasn't our problem to begin with.
A lot of that
Unfortunately,
going on tonight.
Oh, well, isn't there?
unfortunately, in order to satisfy the auditors, I have to have a bank reconciliation that balances.
Okay,
And the only way to do that was to record it.
yeah, no, that's okay. I before we approved it, I just wanted an explanation, which I appreciate. But it's ridiculous and it just is what it
I'm so frustrated, as are Ms. Close, Mr. Holbrook, probably the chief, with the whole credit card situation at the bank, as you all know.
They sent the one in my name and it dings my credit report and everything for a while.
Oh my.
Yeah, so because they sent the one in my name, but didn't have the township's name on it.
Right.
So, whatever, it
So
is what it is, but
So in dealing with all of this special charge that wasn't ours, one of the bank people told me that Bank President Heidi Grant is on the phone every day with the new credit card company resolving or trying to resolve issues with the credit card changes. So anyway, if we can approve the financials, we already have a motion, and then we'll deal with what I need for the actual payment to satisfy the auditors. So is there any more discussion about the financial statements? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Thank you very much. So that particular transaction came in after you approved the final appropriations for the year. And every appropriation has to be approved by the governing body. So I'm going to need a resolution just establishing the appropriation for this amount of money in an account that I never use and probably won't use again. I just found an account that we could use. So this would be resolution 2024-13.
I'd like to introduce resolution 2024-13, a resolution establishing an additional 2023 appropriation of $3,469.74 for the account 1000-120-599-0000.
Second.
Thank you. Any discussion of the resolution? If not, I'll call the roll. Dr. Cross?
Yes.
Mr. Stubbs?
Yes.
Mr. Potter?
Yes.
Resolution 2024-13 is adopted. Thank you very much. I agree with you, Mr. Stubbs. We shouldn't have to do all this. If it would have happened mid-month, I would have caught it and we would have dealt with it.
But because it happened over year end and month end and all that, okay.
Exactly so. Okay, at our organizational meeting last week, you approved an appropriation to transfer $8,000 from the general fund to the road and bridge fund as an approximate payment for the maintenance of the township hall and the rural cemeteries by the road department. I can go ahead and make that transfer, but I will need a resolution approving that transfer. We'll make that 14.
I'd like to introduce resolution 2024-14, a resolution approving the transfer of $8,000 from the general fund, number 1,000, to the road and bridge fund, number 2031, as approximate payment for the 2024 maintenance of the township hall and the rural cemeteries by the road department.
Second.
Any discussion of the resolution? Hearing none, I'll call the roll. Dr. Cross?
Yes.
Mr. Stubbs?
Yes.
Mr. Potter?
Yes.
Thank you. Resolution 2024-14 is adopted. Also, last week's meeting, you approved an appropriation to transfer $36,100 from the general fund to various other funds. This was to help offset the allocation of the trustee and fiscal officer salaries to those funds in 2024. I can go ahead and make that transfer now, or if you'd rather wait till later in the year, we can do that too. I see no reason to wait though, unless you do. And if you do it tonight, we'll make that resolution 15.
Does it help at all with the interest money?
They'll get more interest if that money's in there.
So they do collect interest
Mhm.
on, okay, all right.
To some extent, we're going to talk about that.
Okay,
Here
as
in
long
a
as
minute,
it's
too.
helping, wherever it's at, as long as it's helping with interest.
Yeah.
We'll do that.
Yeah, I'd like to introduce resolution 2024-15, a resolution approving the transfer of $36,100 from the general fund, number 1,000, to other funds as follows: $16,000 to the police district fund, number 2081, $15,500 to the gasoline tax fund, number 2021, and $4,600 to the garbage and waste disposal fund, number 2071. Purpose of the transfers is to strengthen the fund balance of the recipient funds.
He's got it.
All right, thank you. Any discussion? I'll call the roll. Dr. Cross?
Yes.
Mr. Stubbs?
Yes.
Mr. Potter?
Yes.
Thank you very much. Resolution 2024-15 is adopted. Next item, I have given you an analysis of how much of the Fouts Trust Fund can be distributed to charities. And as you probably recall, the original principal cannot be spent. Additionally, only 75% of the increase above the original principal may be spent. Last year, I prepared this analysis for the first time after I spent some time reviewing Dr. Cross's 2019 work papers when he researched the trust fund. And as of the end of 2023, I believe that $14,573.54 of the $32,000 and change in the fund is available to be spent. You did approve a 2024 appropriation of $2,000 in that fund. I know in the past you've waited till closer to year end. I assume you want to do that again this year.
Correct, yeah.
But the point being, you have several years and you're going to be able to continue to make payments out of the Fouts fund. Okay. Interest. That seems to be everybody's favorite topic.
Yes.
At last month's regular meeting, we discussed potentially allocating interest income to various funds. Now, during 2023, Star Ohio paid total interest of $108,542 and change. And I've given you an analysis of that interest. First National Bank paid a total interest of $53.26. So I really have not analyzed that. It's not a big enough number to justify it. And just as a reminder, and for those listening online, the state of Ohio has certain requirements for recording interest into our various funds. Some funds are required to receive their pro rata share of interest. These funds include the general fund, the motor vehicle license tax, the gasoline tax, and the permissive motor vehicle license tax. And during 2023, you can see the amounts that each of those funds did receive in interest. Additionally, certain township funds are not allowed to receive interest by the state's requirements. And these are the road and bridge, the garbage and waste, the police district, as well as the 5 small police funds, the road levy, and the 5 joint levy funds with Germantown. In this case, the state requires that the general fund receive these funds' pro rata share of interest instead of going to those funds. And had interest been allowed into the other funds, I've given you the amount that they would have received in the Star Ohio interest during 2023. And finally, certain township funds are allowed to either receive interest or have their interest added to the general fund. In other words, it's up to the trustees how they want to handle interest for these particular funds. And those include the ARPA fund, the Sunbury Cemetery Fund, and the Fouts Trust. At present time, the Sunbury and Fouts funds receive interest. You'll recall that you approved that resolution at our meeting last week, our organizational meeting. The ARPA fund does not, and it's added to the general fund. And again, I've given you the amounts that those funds would have earned or if they did not receive, if they would have. So all of that said, if you'd like to consider a transfer from the general fund to some or maybe all of the funds not currently receiving interest, obviously this transfer would help strengthen those fund balances.
I'd like to make a transfer to the road and bridge fund, the police district, and the road levy.
The general fund,
The road and bridge, the police district, and the road levy.
okay. I did give you the option also of including the garbage and waste. And you, Mr. Stubbs, would not like to have that one in there.
That can stay in the general fund, in my opinion.
Put a surplus there anyways, I think.
So if you're interested in doing something tonight, we can do that if you'd like to think about it. But if you want to do so tonight, I've given you the resolution. And you can either include or not include Mr. Stubbs' recommendation. But I'm recommending that you do not transfer anything to the 5 joint levy funds or the ARPA fund. I did.
Oh, yeah, so because the Sunbury, the cemetery and the Fouts are already getting it, right? So
That's correct.
I was just looking at the ones that. And at the council meeting, I watched online, a representative from the Parks Board doesn't want that fund getting interest. So there's no reason to have the joint levy funds receive interest. It doesn't seem.
I see no reason to put interest in any of the joint levy funds now. But I did think the other ones that are allowed, road and bridge, garbage, police, including the 5 funds and the road levy. And I would also not recommend ARPA. So do you want to do something tonight, or would you like to think about it for next month's meeting? I won't read all this again if you decide to wait till next month.
Well, I don't see any reason not to go ahead and do it, is there?
You want to go ahead and make that resolution?
So all in, what number, the 16?
It'd be 16, and if you are not going to include garbage and waste, just leave that verbiage out.
All right, I will introduce resolution 2024-16, a resolution approving the transfer from the general fund to other funds as follows: 4,500 to road and bridge, 2031, skip garbage and waste. Sorry, 20,000 to the police district fund, 2081. 2,500 to the road levy fund, 2141. The purpose of this transfer is to strengthen the fund balance of the recipient funds.
And by leaving out the 6,500 that I had put into this verbiage for the garbage fund, the total transfer now would be 27,000.
Second.
Thank you. Any discussion of the resolution? Now I'll call the roll. Dr. Cross?
Yes.
Mr. Stubbs?
Yes.
Mr. Potter?
Yes.
Thank you. Resolution 2025-16 is adopted, and I will make that $27,000 transfer during January. Okay, as part of renewing our insurance policy with Otarma, they request that a proxy statement be executed. I contacted Wendy French up at Otarma to discuss who should be the two named representatives and who was on our, last time this was done, who were the people listed. It's been so many years since we've done this form. She said, I can't find it, it's not in our system. But she said that typically most townships use a fiscal officer and a trustee. And since this is something that they don't want us to do every year, I don't think we should use names of people such as myself or one of you three. So I would suggest that we actually name a position, and as people cycle in and out of those positions, it just means new people automatically take on this responsibility. And I'm suggesting that it be of myself as well as the trustee president. If you're in agreement, we'll make that resolution 17.
I'd like to introduce resolution 2024-17, a resolution appointing the fiscal officer as the individual and the board of trustees president as the alternate to represent German Township with Ohio Township Association Risk Management Authority.
Second.
Any discussion of the resolution? Hearing none, I'll call the roll. Dr. Cross?
Yes.
Mr. Stubbs?
Yes.
Mr. Potter?
Yes.
Thank you very much. Resolution 2024-17 is adopted. And as Mr. Stubbs said earlier in the meeting, I did send a capital budget request to State Representative Tom Young for assistance in paying the $60,000 cost of the channel maintenance system at Twin Creek, that remediation project. Unfortunately, the request is related to the state's 2025-2026 capital budget. So it's going to be way too late for us to use that money. And I doubt very much if they fund something on a project that's already completed, but we'll wait and see. And finally, I did attend Montgomery County Auditor Carl Keith's annual update back on December 14th up at Sinclair College. And with that, I'm done. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mark, appreciate it. Police Department report, Chief.
Yes, sir. I'll make this quick. Monthly stats from December. Total miles driven was 4,732. Total dispatches were 86. Closed cases 85. Case follow-ups were 4. Arrests 1. Business checks 369. Vacant house checks 65. And occupied house checks 952. There were 11 crashes, 21 traffic stops, and 10 citations. For the year of 2023, our officers drove 71,785 miles. That's 3 trips around the earth or 37 and a half trips from Dayton to Los Angeles. So they drove quite a bit. Total dispatches for 2023 was 998. Cases closed 946. Case follow-ups 87. 19 arrests. 3,664 business checks. 527 vacant house checks. And 8,262 occupied house checks. There were 78 crashes last year, 248 traffic stops, and 133 citations. The only point of interest last month was an officer while backing up Germantown PD on domestic. While leaving the scene, he accidentally struck a vehicle parked on the roadway. Our insurance was notified. He did very minor damage. He did next to no damage to the cruiser. There was a small crack in the bumper, but on which of force. So, that's all I've got.
Thanks, chief. Appreciate it.
It should be so quick.
Road department report, Jeremy?
I have no written report this evening, but I just wanted to let the board know that we had our first snowfall Friday night into Saturday morning. Scott and I went out and plowed for about the first half of the morning and then ended up just salting.
Did you have to use much?
No, not a lot.
There wasn't much, you know.
Nah, just enough to get it to hold over till the afternoon because we knew the temperature was going to rise. So, but they are calling for some colder weather, possible snow. So, trucks are all prepared and plenty of salt and plenty of brine. So, that's all.
Thanks, Jeremy. Zoning,
Not a whole lot going on. There's zoning permits. No reports in December. The Board of Zoning Appeals will hear case number 2023-04V for Valley View Local School District tomorrow night, January 9th at 7 p.m. This case is concerning the new sign for the new school. They're requesting a variance as proposed sign is larger than what is allowed in the German Township zoning resolution. And the zoning commission will hold a regular meeting on Tuesday, February 5th at 7 p.m. I would also like to thank our road department guys for slapping a couple coats of paint on the nice new back door. It's going to help keep the door from getting so hot and messing up things that I don't understand. But they did a good job and it looks really nice.
Rusting.
We appreciate them.
It's that interesting.
Yeah. All I got.
okay, trustee report, Mr. Potter.
Pool, we're having no meeting with the pool in the winter time, in the winter months. MMI, we have no meeting for the last couple of months, start here at the end of January, be 1/3/24. They have ordered 2 plaques, should be in any day now. Which is, the plaques for the MMI and for the Camp Miami that will be placed, at the flagpole. I did pick up 3 benches today from the Lions Club, Randy Klotz. One donated from the Lions Club, one donated from First National Bank, and one from a private individual. Not wanting their last name. Makes 5 total that we've got from the Lions Club. 2 more is coming. And that's everything else I've done. We've already discussed multiple times. So that's the end of my report.
Thank you, Mr. Stubbs.
I've got more than normal tonight, so I'll try and be quick. At the cemetery, I'd like to thank Bob Rohrback as he took over the fiscal officer job at a rough time with year end. He's doing a fantastic job. I believe he's got year end done or close to it. And
He's ahead of me. I know that much.
he's doing a great job and we really appreciate him for stepping in and taking care of that. He's an absolute professional. He was when he's here and he is down there as well. So I would just like to publicly thank Bob Rohrback for all he does for the cemetery. Keith is continuing to prove to be a great hire. His dedication and passion to making the cemetery better is impressive. So he's always looking for ways to make us better, to make the cemetery more accessible and more it's easy for people to get there and find their loved ones and just to enjoy themselves while they're at the cemetery. Moving on to the rental house, renters moved in January 1st. Upon moving in, we discovered a leak in the downstairs bathroom, but because no one had been in there in a while, and apparently the previous renter didn't use that bathroom. So we have a quote, it's somewhere in the $5,500 range that they have to pull the tub completely out. It's on a concrete floor. There's no basement access, so it's more of a job than it would have been had it just been. So that's going to be taken care of. There will be a levy on the March ballot. We are currently looking for anyone willing to volunteer to be on a committee to promote the levy. So if anyone knows of anyone, please send them in my direction. It was mentioned to me, Mr. Potter, that I should ask about Sandy and see if she's willing to.
Go right ahead and ask her.
So I was told to bring that up tonight. So
Understand.
yeah, Wreaths Across America put out wreaths prior to Christmas. I can't remember if that was before our last meeting or not, but the wreaths and the flags will be picked up here in the next couple weeks. And they did a fantastic job. David Short, as always, running it, knows what he's doing. He has a great ceremony and presentation that's well received by the community. The Boy Scouts were involved. It's just an all around great event for the cemetery. We're looking to increase that wreaths, I think, for next year. Lastly, on the cemetery, as Mr. Houston mentioned earlier, we submitted a project to the state budget. I also worked with Bob Roback and Keith Burnett to submit a project to the state budget for the cemetery. It was kind of a last minute thing, as Mr. Houston is well aware of. But we submitted a project to replace and repair all the driveways in the cemetery. Along with the report, we sent pictures as well of the deteriorating condition of the driveways and the entryway, and this potential safety hazard it has. The project in total was right at $420,000. So that project includes, we ended up with we had two companies come bid. Mr. Hanahan from Ray Hensley Incorporated came and gave us a chip seal bid as well for the paved portion, as well as fixing and replacing or laying more gravel on the gravel driveways. And then Keith was able to get a asphalt company from Vandalia Asphalt, I believe it was, to come in and give us a bid to repave all the paved portions. So what we did, we combined the two. We took the paving portion from the Vandalia paving, and we took the gravel driveway portion from Ray Hensley's bid, and we submitted a project over $400,000. We turned in our budget, our revenue, and an explanation that this is something that needs to be done, but is not something realistic that we can do. So we're hoping, fingers crossed, that maybe it'll make it into the state budget. They told me, I called to confirm that our packet was received. It was, and Mr. Young's administrative assistant said that sometime around May, we should know if this is.
Can you only submit one project?
No.
What about the wall project?
So we discussed it. We only submitted, Bob, Keith, and myself talked about it. This was more of a unrealistic that we can't do. At some point, if we have to do the wall, we could probably make it work over the course of a couple of years. But no, yeah, we discussed that, and we went for the home run, just trying to see what we come back with. So, regarding I watched the Germantown City Council meeting online, and Park Board member made some comments about the township holding back money that's not sent to the Park Board. The reason, just to make it clear, the reason we hold back the money is in case of an emergency. Mr. Gagline wanted us to release all funds, and he said that half of the money we're holding belongs to the city. We're being financially responsible, and in the past, we've been proven right when we've had projects come up, especially most recently the swimming pool. We potentially, if we worked with the city a little more, could have used maybe this money from the park for the project tonight, but we won't rehash that. But I just want to make it clear that the reason we hold back the money is in case of emergency, if we fail a levy, if there is a special project, a special need. We're not spending that money anyplace else. We're not using that money for anything else. It's simply held here. So we have it when the time would come. We've covered all.
And I reinforce that all the time.
Okay.
To the board and to the Gagline, Mr. Gagline. And also tell them that, if we ever get to 100% of the levy money.
Yeah.
Which is what we talked about in the
Yeah.
past. And after that, and then 100% of the money.
Yeah.
Would go to that.
And if you would pass along, he's more than welcome to come talk to us, but he's never been here. And if he wants to have that discussion, Mr. Kuhn, I believe, said this has been litigated over and over again. I don't know what he meant by that, but we're being responsible.
And
planning for the future.
and I have kept that up.
Yeah,
Let them know that multiple times and I will continue to do that.
yeah.
It's interesting to note that we have 5 different levies that are joint with the city on different, the pool, the park, senior center, fire, EMS, 2 of them. We don't get any pushback on holding back money except from the Parks Board.
Yeah.
Because of one person.
Well, yeah, interestingly enough, and I don't want to rehash it tonight as we've almost been here for 2 hours, but when the city's charging us administrative fees on all these levies, and we're not charging them beyond us running the levy, we're not charging them anything beyond us running the levy.
And I assure you, I am working on that also.
Okay, it's just, I don't know, it seems pretty frustrating that they take all this money out. We don't. When I had this conversation in the past with the city manager, I said, well, we can start taking out an administrative fee too. And they said, go ahead.
I could allocate.
That's not, I said, no, that's not what we're trying to do. That's not what the point was. The point was it shouldn't, again, not going to rehash it.
Yep.
I'll keep moving. Ideas for 2024, because, we did a lot of good things in 2023, electric aggregation. This is the first official meeting of the year. There's a lot of good things happening here. It's nice to have a board that works together. Even when we disagree, we can get along, which I appreciate. There's nobody's throwing anything or hard feelings or whatever, but I do appreciate that. So one thing I've been thinking about, and I came up with an idea, minimal cost of the township, it should be good publicity and potentially good community interaction, is I think we should look into creating a best of German Township award kind of thing, like the city does the houses that look nice and other things. I think it would be a good idea if we could have residents nominate a person or a business in the township who have made a positive impact on the community. And then once or twice a year, we can discuss and select.
Just want to let you know, I was also, excuse me for not putting that in there, but we have also been invited to have a township section in their quarterly flyer that they have out. We want to put something together
Okay.
for their quarterly flyer. We are welcome to add the township into that.
When did they have a change of heart on that?
Yeah, because it's been a hard, that's not how it's been.
That within the last couple of weeks.
Well,
We gave him the
a
money.
year and a half ago, when they first talked about the idea, I threw it out so we could participate.
You have no idea.
Better.
They, on that topic too, they were kind enough to allow the cemetery to put a section in this most recent one, which Keith wrote up. So, I appreciate them for doing that. I know I'm probably the person that's the most, critical of them, but I do appreciate when they do try to work with us. But I do think if we could find a way to have an award of some sort that we can have residents nominate a business or a person who have made a positive impact on the community. And then once or twice a year, we can either print a nice certificate or get a plaque. It'd be minimal cost. It'd be something we can put on Facebook. It'll be something we can get in our email. And just be good publicity for the board as a
I'd be
whole.
very surprised to how little the German Township or the Germantown residents comes west.
Right.
It'd never come elsewhere.
So,
It'd be good for them to know what's out here.
so if you have any nominations or if you'd like to have anybody send them in, just, I don't know, send them to me or email any of us. And we can see what we can come up with here in a couple months, maybe, and get the first one, recognize someone here for doing great things in our community.
We have volunteer board members who have served in some cases for decades.
Well, I had one specific one in mind for the very first one, who's been here a long time and done a lot of great things for our community. Actually, I'm assuming we're thinking of the same
We
person.
might well be.
So that's actually, when I thought of doing this, that's who I thought would be
I think it's an excellent idea, Mr. Stokes.
so that would be my ideal recipient for the first one. I don't know February, but probably March if we could come up with
We could do a little plaque, have a little ceremony. It never hurts to recognize people
right.
and then get that into the As long as the city will distribute the newsletter into the township.
I don't know that they'll do that.
Well, if we pay for part of the
Well,
postage,
that,
they should do that.
they could do that. I will sure bring that
And
up.
that was the initial discussion I had with Judy.
Finish that out, because there's some things that I think, if we're thinking about the same person, road department things that would apply to that as well.
Okay, I appreciate it. The last thing I have, and we can do it later, is I need to ask for an executive session for personnel, but if you want to do that after your report,
Yeah, let's do that.
and then that concludes my report.
Okay. I will attend the Senior Center Oversight Committee this Thursday, the 11th. I'd like to recommend that the trustees provide Kurt Jacoby an affiliate membership to the Ohio Township Association. Kurt, again, is the president of the zoning commission. I think those affiliate memberships are like $25.
I think that's correct.
Well, hopefully, and in that way, he can go to the OTA site, log in as a member. And the most important thing really for Kurt, I think, is he can go to the recorded webinars from the Ohio Township conferences. If you aren't a member, you can go there, but they charge you to have to watch them. So
Also go to the OTA conference and at a member.
Yeah,
rate.
you'll get a member rate. Yeah. So
There are several zoning classes that are offered in Columbus. It's
I emailed you a list of those. So
I already printed it off and started highlighting.
there you go. So
But we can get you a list of those, or you can look on the Ohio Township Association's website. The list is already out of what the classes of the conferences that'll be.
And the early registration ends on the 17th. And the cost goes up significantly after that. So
And that's a cost I think the board should cover if Mr.
course.
Jacoby wants to attend.
any volunteer who goes, let's make that a motion. Dr. Cross,
I'd like
the
to
affiliate membership.
I'd like to make a motion that the trustees provide Kurt Jacoby an affiliate membership to the Ohio Township Association.
Second.
I assume no discussion. So all in favor?
Aye.
Right, thank you. Since this is sort of a new thing, using a non-employee, non-elected official. Okay.
No. That's all I have. We have no old business. For new business, I move to go into executive session per ORC 121.22G1 to consider the employment of a public employee. I have a second.
Second.
Dr. Cross,
Yes.
Mr. Stubbs?
Yes.
And Mr. Potter?
Yes.
It is
We are
now
in executive session at 8:57.
I would like to ask Chief Birch and Mr. Heaston to join us, and Mr. Holbrook can go
Seconded.
if you so desire.
Is there gonna be any action after?
Yes,
Okay.
it should be.
9:12. I move to return to open session. I have a second.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
We're in open session at 9:12.
Okay, no further business. I'd like to have a motion to adjourn.
A motion to adjourn?
Is there a second?
Second.
Thank you. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
We are adjourned at 9:13.
Thank everyone for hanging in there.
Now let's sign papers.